A reported death plot by train suicide attackers. It's not enough, though, to deter the Russian President Vladimir Putin from making a history-making trip to Iran. On the agenda, among other issues, Iran's nuclear program. And that has some in Washington worried that it may turn out to be a troublemaking trip. Let's go to our Brian Todd. He's watching this story for us. What is the latest, Brian?
Well, Wolf, we were told a short time ago that President Putin has delayed his trip to Iran for a day. He'll arrive tomorrow. A Russian official would not give a reason, but even with some ominous rumors circulating around this trip, it's clearly too important for Mr. Putin to cancel it outright. Russia's president shrugs off a reported assassination plot against him, says he'll still make a crucial strategic visit to Iran, the first for a Russian leader since World War II.
If I would react to rumors like this one every time, I could never leave the house.
Details of the alleged plot are vague, and one Iranian official told me reports of a possible suicide attack on Putin are, quote, ridiculous. It would also be bad for business. Russia is building Iran's first ever nuclear power plant. Iran claims it's for civilian energy, but U.S. officials are worried it could be used to make nuclear weapons. And the two have just completed another huge deal that worries the United States.
Russia sold about $1 billion worth of Tor M1 missile defense systems to Iran over the last year. That has been a real sore in U.S.-Russian relations.
A former UN weapons inspector tells CNN many of those air defense systems are being installed around nuclear facilities in Iran. An Iranian official at the UN would not comment on that. Putin has resisted America's efforts to slap Iran with tougher UN sanctions over its nuclear program.
If you think you can get Iran to comply by scaring them, that is not going to work. The government and the Iranian people, they are not scared. Believe me.
But analysts say there are cracks in this alliance.
The main concern on the Russian part is that they don't want to see Iran become a nuclear weapons state, and they also don't want to see a military conflict in the Middle East. And their concern is that Mr. Ahmadinejad is not going to compromise with the international community on his weapons program, thus increasing the likelihood that conflict could take place.
In fact, that nuclear power plant the Russians are building was supposed to be up and running 2 years ago, but it's been delayed repeatedly, and we're told the Russians have almost stopped construction completely. Russian officials have said that's because Iran hasn't been paying them on time. The Iranians deny that. Analysts say the real reason is because Putin's in no hurry to be associated with any nuclear program in Iran if tensions boil over to possible military action, Wolf.
Brian, isn't Putin also selling weapons to another major U.S. antagonist?
Yes, the Russians have agreed to a huge arms sale with Venezuela, Hugo Chavez's country. It's reportedly worth about $3 billion. The Russians have always stressed these are defensive weapons, but according to Jane's Defense Weekly, it does include that same air defense system that the Russians are selling to Iran.
Brian Todd watching this story for us. Thank you. Iran's president, meanwhile, had some other VIP visitors over the past year. Venezuela's President Hugo Chavez showed up in July. He's now considered a key ally of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Syria's President Bashar al-Assad, already a close ally, paid a visit back in February. And the Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki went to Tehran only 2 months ago. Key Iraqi Shiite leaders have close ties to Iran, which is a bitter enemy of Iraq's Sunnis, as most of our viewers know. Has al-Qaeda in Iraq been crushed? To see it in fact check right now as a new debate rages over whether the U.S. military is ready to declare victory over its most bitter enemy. Let's go right to our senior Pentagon correspondent,